Hi, I'm from Rami from Vlambeer, and we're here to talk about his games. Do you want to say a bit more about the games you're developing at the moment?
So we're working on two games at the moment that haven't been released yet. One of them is Luftrausers, and the other one is the game formerly known as Wasteland Kings. We've renamed it to Nuclear Throne. So we're working on Luftrauser and Nuclear Throne. Luftrausers is a 2D dogfighting game about being the best fighter pilot in the world. That's releasing for PC, Mac, Linux, PlayStation 3, and Vita, hopefully in the span of the next 2 months. And Nuclear Throne is a top-down roguelike. It's sort of like a roguelike, but it's not quite that. It's a top-down shooter, what is more important. And it's about mutants in post-apocalyptic wasteland. It was inspired by, the 60s, 70s sci-fi movies and comics. So we've been working on that one as well.
We were in the dev session that you were just doing upstairs. It's really interesting to see how you created your games and how the way you create, you made quite an emphasis on how you do that. Why is it so different to other game creation companies, do you think?
So I think what's at the core of why what we do is different is, in essence, what we do is highly ineffective. It's a really dumb way to make video games. So we make the game and then we make the game again. And the reason we do that is because JW, my fellow Vlambeer, uses GameMaker 7 or 8, depending on the project, which is a tool that is really easy for him to use. He's really good at it. He spent most of his life, since he was 13, mastering that tool. So it's really quick in making games in that. He can make games in 2 days that would take most advanced programmers weeks to create. He's really good in that. The problem with that is that GameMaker is completely unusable for any commercial release. You can make a game in it, but except for little freeware games like Super Crate Box, it's not a good idea to launch anything in that consumer-wise. So what ends up happening is that we have to remake the game in a different programming language so that everybody can play it, so that it can be on PlayStation, that it can be on Vita, it can be on Xbox.
So effectively you make a simple version of the actual game in the games thing, pless around with it, see if it's okay, and then you think, right, we can now remake this and make it a bit better, get rid of all the bugs and things like that. Yes. In a different system. Yes,
so what we do is we create the bare bones prototype, something that feels the way we want it to feel, something that plays the way we want it to play. And if we think the result of that after 2 days or so is fun, that's a project we can do. And then we work on it for a few more weeks to see if we're having fun making it, because that's way more important for us. If we're going to spend 6 months of our lives trying to make a video game, it better be fun to work on, right? So we spend a few days making a prototype, then 2 weeks figuring out whether this is really something, and then 6 months to 9 months actually making the game. And the interesting thing that gives us is it gives us a bit of distance from the game, because we've made this game, we know what works, and then we get to redo everything with the emphasis, with the knowledge of why it works. And that makes for such an interesting, different process from what most developers do. Officially it's called rapid prototyping, which is something a lot of developers do, but not most. I don't think most game studios actually start over a few weeks into the project and then redo the whole game.
A bit of a weird one, the last question. If you were an animal cracker, what would that animal cracker be?
So I guess most people would say it would be a goat because of the goatee. But if I had to pick anything, it would probably be a bird. I like flying, I like flight. It's a nice feeling to be above the clouds and just be not connected to the world and just have some time to think. So I think a bird would be it, yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Rami. It's been great to meet you.
Thanks for having me.
This has been Eurogamer.